Hello, everyone, and welcome to another smoky episode there of ParaMindful. I am one of your co-hosts, Melba Collins. Over there is Alex the Werewolf, and down here is the gold standard, the man with the sultry voice, Carl Carafel. Carl, how are you doing today?
Honestly, I'm really tired.
It
It's been a
sounds like
long day of work. It has been a long day of just bullshit with work, but I'm past it because we're here and this is my church.
yes, we've got our Dr. Peppers tonight. Still haven't gotten that sponsorship. We're working on it. Working on it.
I even made that awesome video and nothing.
Alex, how are you doing, my friend?
I am awesome. I am riding my high from yesterday, not a drug high, but I saw Dream Theater and Devin Townsend and Animals as Leaders in a concert yesterday, a very small and intimate concert. I was like 5 rows in. Oh, mind blasting, man. So,
Very fun.
Yeah.
Very fun.
What's happening in the world of a Mel ball?
yeah.
Yeah, the gym is happening in the world of a Melball, and that's pretty much all she's got going. Yeah, I mean, we're making some gains there. It is what it is. Of course, work is always going to take over during the day, but then when we come to the evening, we have amazing things like ParaMindful, and the G1 is going on right now. Your girl is busy. We're recording again after I get off air with these guys with my other partner, Andre C, to record more on the G1
OnlyFans
there.
Website?
What was that, Alex?
Is that for the OnlyFans website or?
It's not that only kind of content. That's not for that one. That's for the other one, Alex.
Oh, duh. It's
Come
the other
on.
mobile, I know.
And we have a very fun episode of ParaMindful lined up for you today. We're going to be going back into our missing 411 kind of era here. We're going to come at you with a few more stories, few more ponderings, few more questions, few more discussions here. But before we get into that, we want to draw your attention to our sponsor, Rogue Energy. They are making things complicated for your girl right now. They are a energy drink here kind of for gaming, podcasting, all your fun stuff. It has 0 sugar, very low calories, gluten-free, soy-free, vegan if that's what you're into. They have tons of flavors, and we have a fun little video lined up here for you to take a look at all the flavors. Carl, why don't you take us into that now? I always love that video. So fun, so bougie, so fancy. Fancy pants.
That's I like that song. I don't know what it is, but I should.
And if you're looking to get your hands on some Rogue Energy, if you go to rogueenergy.com, use our promo pod. What am I trying to say right now? Promo code OLE pods to get a discount there. My goodness. This is going to be a fun episode. I couldn't even get through the sponsorship. And that being said, let's get into this right now, you guys. Carl, we have some awesome stories, and we decided to start with you this week. Take us into some of the missing stories that are happening around the world right now.
Well, this one isn't necessarily from recent. This is more from the late 1900s. We're looking 1969.
69, dude!
Father's Day weekend, where a 6-year-old named Dennis Martin was at the Smoky Mountains National Park with his brother, father, and grandfather. They decided to camp out for the night, and the next day a man approached Mr. Martin asking if his sons would like to play with the other kids that were there. Since they were all about the same age, Dennis's father agreed, and they started playing a big game of hide and seek. Dennis's father kept his eyes on his children from a distance. Then Dennis decided to hide behind a tree. When all the other kids jumped out to reveal themselves, Dennis didn't. His father got up and ran over to where he was last seen behind that tree, but he was gone. The Appalachian Trail was nearby, so he ran over to that trail at full speed for 2 miles, yelling and calling for his son Dennis, but he couldn't find him. They actually called in the park rangers, and they spent all night looking for him. The search for Dennis became massive. The FBI, the Green Berets, the park rangers, and local volunteers all searched for about 6 weeks. The only thing that they found belonging to Dennis was one shoe and one sock, but they never found a body. So interviews were conducted and gone through, and files were looked at with testimonials. And one of them came from the Key family. They had been camping in the park the same weekend. And they asked a park ranger where they could go to see bears. They were told where to go, and when they arrived, they reported hearing a scream. One of the children from the Key family pointed up top of the hill, saying that they saw a bear. The father of the Key family said that it looked more like a scary-looking, wild, hairy mountain man dodging behind trees while carrying something over its shoulder. So the Key family decided that they were going to go and talk with, the FBI and all of these people that were there, park rangers, to kind of let them know what they had seen. And all of this information that was given to them was kind of brushed aside. And the Key family was told, essentially, timelines don't match, things aren't right, don't worry about it, leave it alone. And that's really about it for this one here. There isn't any more information that's really come out. For you two, I did send you guys a video that you guys can take a look at, where I got a lot of this information from. It's pretty interesting. They wanted to go and look for bears, and then apparently they're seeing like this Sasquatch. Speaking of Sasquatches, if you have not checked out our last episode of ParaMindful, you can hear all about them. Go back and check that out when you're done with this one. Interesting that how, things all kind of tie together, and especially being up in the mountain area,
Right.
up on top of a large hill.
So I've read all the Missing 411 books, and I remember this story, and it stuck with me always because in the book, I think it goes into a little bit more detail about the mountain man. And I thought that was really cool. But the thing that really sticks with me is the one shoe was found and one sock. That's like the MO all the time, is one shoe is missing, right? So it just happened to be on the kid's foot, I guess.
Happened to be. Must have been.
Yeah. But I remember actually being quite skeeved out from that one, because like the kid, literally in the book it says something along the lines of like he was behind the tree for 15-20 seconds, something like that, and gone. So I'm like, where can a kid run in 15-20 seconds that his dad can't beat him? You know?
Right.
Yeah. It's frightening.
It is.
Mm-hmm. And like, what if that mountain man is really a thing, and maybe he was not, we'll say, on ground level? What if he's adapted to kind of like a tree life?
Yeah.
He likes, because now all I'm picturing is him like geckoing down the side of this tree and snatching this child up, and like
Spider-Man.
George of the Jungling his way up into the Appalachian Mountains.
Yeah, it follows my theory from the last missing 411, where I'm like, maybe it's some group of whether they are uncontacted, whether they are contacted, but like a pocket of wild people, feral people, if you will.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because
there is kind of like that colony that I've discussed with you guys kind of privately beforehand down in, I think it was Alabama, Georgia, like somewhere in the deep, deep south there in the hidden bayou.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
We never know. I mean, the world is certainly
It's a large,
surprised us at a few corners.
Right.
it's a large enough place to be able to hide that kind of stuff. But the interesting thing is, if
Mhm.
you think of it as being a person, they wouldn't be wearing clothes like us, right? They would be having pelts, effectively, right? Skins of animals. So,
Right.
whatever, a skin of a fox or a bear or whatever is
Mhm.
going to make you look like a hairy man. So,
Yep.
obviously, they wouldn't shave either, right? So,
Or like genetics, who knows? They could just naturally be a very hairy individual, and years of no self care kind of take its
100%.
toll.
Yeah, that one always gave me the heebie-jeebies, man. I didn't like that story. Like, I liked
Mhm.
that story, but I didn't like. Um,
Sorry, when you guys mentioned the shoe and the sock, did we ask if it was the same shoe on the same sock? Like, could we tell?
I
What do you
never
mean?
found that out.
What
If
do you
they
mean?
were like both right feet,
Oh,
right.
I know
But
with
I mean,
socks,
socks
it's
are,
kind of like
it didn't
yeah,
have
they're interchangeable.
it didn't have that in the book either. It didn't have that info.
Because I
Something,
looked.
yeah.
it would be an interesting fact to know because it's like, okay, if it was the right shoe but the left sock, and it was obvious that it was a left sock, where was the left shoe?
I'm kind of curious about like the shoes, right? I wonder if like they should have taken more detail is how I feel. But like are the laces pulled out like somebody took their shoe off, or was it ripped off, or was it somebody
Oh.
untying a child's shoe? I'm just kind of curious about that. I just thought about that. So
Yeah, is it still tied? Is it not still tied?
right.
Yeah. These are all interesting things. And then it's like, why though? What is the thing with shoes?
I don't know.
Because shoes are usually quite involved in these stories, either being found or around the body or
Well, one's
just
missing all the
no
time.
body, just shoes. I mean,
One's
obviously, I like shoes, but like
one's gone all the time, right? You at least have pairs.
that would get
Yeah.
really annoying after a while. I'm not gonna lie.
Mix and match. I'd also be curious to know how many right shoes comparative to how many left shoes have been found.
Yes.
That's kind of just interesting tidbit, right?
Yeah. That's why I was looking for that info.
Yeah.
Because I was like, maybe I want to start looking a little further into this and figure out, is it always the right? Is it always the left?
Maybe we should
Like
go
what's
to
the
the
ratio?
Yeah, go into the forest without a left shoe and you're safe.
Right?
It's the key.
I don't know why this just triggered a memory, but you guys remember on the west coast of BC, there was a period of time there where they were finding the feet.
I was still thinking about that. I was just thinking about that, and they're still finding feet, by the way. It's in
Oh, they're still finding them.
Vancouver,
Wow.
Washington, and Oregon.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say that one's probably a person. It just seems like a serial killer dumping.
Yeah, so they're explaining it away by being like, oh, it's somebody who fell over a boat and they drown, and it's the crabs or whatever have eaten the body, but they couldn't get through the shoe. I was like, but if they've eaten through the leg, that allows access through the top of the shoe. So, because they find the
Right.
foot in the shoe.
Oh,
You know what I mean? So,
The crabs would definitely eat the foot.
yeah.
right, and they take all of the meat. You know what I mean? So you might have a shoe with bones, maybe, but you know what I
Now
mean?
all I can think about is those crabs in Finding Nemo. Hey, arguing over a foot. Oh my goodness. What a world we live in today, you guys. Do you guys have anything else you want to add to the story here? Any questions we want to propose to the group?
I just want to clarify for those who are wondering why the FBI gets involved. So the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and the CIA are very similar, but the CIA takes care of stuff out of country. FBI takes care of stuff in country. The reason why they're called to these types of events is because it's a crime that's committed on federal property, so on federal land. So it's not because well, I mean, they could be trying to hide something, but it's not like they're not going in there being like, well, we knew what happened, we just pretending we don't know. They have
Right.
to be involved because it's federal land. So
Okay. And like realistically, they probably do know what's going on.
oh, 100%.
Let's be honest, they're probably covering some of it up. Is what it is.
Yeah.
Carl's like, no, don't make us targets like that.
We're watching you, feds.
We already know they're watching us.
Oh
Yeah.
The
yeah.
amount of technical difficulties that we have on this show.
Well, I mean, we're putting ourselves on YouTube here, so it's not going to
We're
be
not hard to find. Bippity boppity. We provide our contact info, you guys. Come on. We're not hard to find.
VPNs, baby. VPNs.
Right.
Right now I'm in Norway.
Nice.
So from here, I'm going to segue into my missing person. This one actually came from 1956. So kind of not terribly recent, but like, you know, person could still be alive. Who knows? This is about a little girl named, well, not little girl, she was 16. Name is Judy Rodenkel. This happened in Auroraville, Michigan. So it was 10 miles west of a town called Oshkosh, near a pond known as Mill Pond. And the area was quite swampy and fairly flat. So Judy was walking to the bus stop to ride to school, but never arrived at high school and never returned home that afternoon. So after that, her parents realized something was wrong, and when they contacted Judy's boyfriend, he said that she was not only was she not at school, but she actually ditched out on a date that they were supposed to go on after. So yeah, the search was difficult because the teams didn't understand where she could have possibly gone. There was really just one route to her bus and one route out. And again, the area is quite flat. From what it sounds like, it was probably comparable to Saskatchewan. So like you can watch your dog run away for a week, kind of flat. There were no leads until the following day when the searchers were searching a creek 1 mile north of Judy's residence, where they found a handkerchief and Judy's socks. Again, we're going back to the socks. At this point, bloodhounds were brought in to search for her, and they searched around where like the socks were found. What did you say, Alex?
Oh, I said it's got a foot fetish.
You know, I mean, like Stranger Things. Stranger things exist in this world.
Right.
A Sasquatch with a foot fetish at this point would not surprise me. Yeah, so again, bloodhounds were finally brought in. They couldn't pick up a scent. The search continued throughout 2 more days, making no progress on locating her. But late Thursday, a farmer found a girl unconscious near his house. And this girl happened to be Judy. They said that she had been missing approximately 60 hours. And they were baffled on how she arrived in the condition she did because she was not injured. There was no indications of any injury on her. The only thing she had was shock and exposure. And what they did say was interesting, though, is that she kept saying that she was hiding. She was hiding from something. When they questioned her on what, she didn't really have an answer. She just said that she was scared. So she said that the doctor said that she had actually blacked out. And as a result, she had an amnesia about the whole situation. So she has no recollection of why she was scared, what took her, why she was hiding, and why she was 60 hours, no food, no water. She might have just, been a little tired after that, but like she had no explanation as to why she never went to school.
When they found her, was she thirsty? Was she hungry, or had she been eating and drinking? Do you know?
Sorry, Alex, I can barely hear you. When she was found,
When she was found, was she thirsty and hungry, or was she, you know what I mean? Like, had she been eating and drinking, or?
You know what? It doesn't say.
That's all right. I was just kind of curious because I'd be kind of curious if it's like I'm not saying it's the Men in Black memory wiper thing, but like,
The only thing that I found notable in this is comparison to what we were speaking about before we came on here, is that the only thing missing on her was her shoes and her socks. Otherwise, she was fully clothed.
it's a gang fight. They wanted the shoes.
Hmm.
Sense to me.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. And like again, she was only 16. She could still be alive today.
Yeah.
She's a trooper.
I'd be curious if you could like regress her, like through hypnotism or whatever,
Mhm.
whether you believe in that kind of stuff, but what she would be like without giving her, without leading her somewhere, what she
Mhm.
would be able to remember, you know?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
any detail would be
That being
interesting.
said, I mean, ooh, girl disappeared for pretty much 3 days.
Yeah.
No food, no water, missing her shoes, missing her socks, and scared half to death and not even knowing what she's scared
Oh,
of.
she
That's
knew.
the more concerning point. Because, like, I'm scared of everything. Like, and the slightest thing, the girl's jumping out of her skin. But, like, what would scare me enough that I would sit in a secluded area for 3 days because I'm so scared?
I'd also be interested to know if she was hidden in the same spot for 3 days, or if she was hiding in several spaces. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because the farmer did say he found her unconscious by a stream, and she had said that she was in a small shack at one point also.
Interesting.
Mhm.
I got no
The
answer.
shack was known by the farmer. It was an old abandoned farming structure. He said he didn't know how she actually hid in it because it didn't really have many walls left.
So in theory,
Hmm.
she could have whatever some sort of hysteria kind of
Yeah.
loop. So I mean, it could be nothing, but it could be something. That's really interesting.
I mean, as a girl, 16 years old, we were a
Everything that
little.
I'm hearing, yeah, we go a little out of this world sometimes, and I'm gonna go there right now. This very much so sounds like an abduction.
Yeah,
Mhm.
This sounds like an alien abduction that happened.
like a Travis Walton, which is interesting because I got a picture of Travis Walton on like my side screen.
Oh, nice. Yeah, like
Serendipitous.
legit. That's exactly what this sounds like to me.
Yeah,
Because yes, she's gonna be scared, but what is she afraid of?
yeah,
She doesn't know, because how do you
Mhm.
explain an alien? You
yeah.
know, and
Mhm.
some mind control in there to give her amnesia so that she doesn't remember what happened
Yeah.
to her.
That's
This
exactly.
little shack could be where they picked her or dropped her from, and she would not have really even been there, but just know that, oh yeah, I was in this shack for a little bit of time,
Mhm.
right?
That happened to Travis Walton, right? Like he got taken and for 5 days he was missing, and then all of a sudden he was back in a different city. It was like 2 towns over.
Mhm.
So
And something also interesting that I just thought of is that she was only suffering. I mean, not to say that she was only suffering, but she was suffering from shock and exposure. She was not suffering from malnutrition,
see,
or like she was clearly, like, I would assume that they would mention that because obviously if you're missing in the wilderness for 3 days, you're going to be suffering from exposure. That's
Right.
pretty much a self-given. So yeah, that was
Mm.
they
one I hadn't thought of.
they used to use exposure and what was the other one? Exposure and
Shock.
they used to use, oh yeah, so it would have been exposure. They used to use exposure a lot as
Mm,
kind of like a catch-all term for anybody that went missing that was found. But it's like it's an umbrella. They have lots of words underneath it of what it could be. So
mm,
like exposure could be hypothermia, um, hypothermia, because I said
mm,
hyperthermia first, so that's overheating, right?
mm,
A whole bunch of things, right? So that's the crappy thing about back then is
mm.
they had a whole bunch of like catch-alls, just like depression nowadays is a catch-all for everything, but in theory it's one thing, right?
Right.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I don't know. When I think of exposure, I think of like the hypothermia, or if you're in the desert, the opposite,
Yeah.
and
Right.
that kind of thing. But like, I don't know. I would say malnourished,
That
and
would be
like,
an interesting thing to know, yeah.
just because, like, again, like when I hear about alien abductions, even if they have lasted multiple days, the people are, again, shocked, traumatized, all this stuff. But like the one thing that I've never heard is that they've said that they're hungry. And it's like, if you're missing for 3, 5, 7, 10 days on an ship, I'm going to assume they're probably going to want to keep you alive while they're, bippity boppity booping you.
Right.
The Missing 411 books go into quite a great detail about food and how when they find these people, when they are found, a lot of times they're not malnourished. They have been eating, and the typical go-to is berries, eating lots of berries. But how does a 2-year-old differentiate between like a poisonous berry? You know what I mean? It's very
Yeah.
interesting. It's very interesting that came up there. So
Yeah, definitely.
100%. 100%. Do you guys have any questions or anything else you wanted to say on Judy's mysterious case here?
negatory.
No, I'm good.
No, coolio. So from here, Alex, segue us into your story. It sounds like you got some pretty fun details for us.
I do. So this event took place on September 19th, 2004. So I was going to say it's relatively recent, but it's not. It's 19 years ago, right? So, oh my God, we're old. This guy's name is Robert Springfield. And this happened in the Bighorn Mountains, which is in the Bighorn National Park. Part of this park is made up of we would call them reserves up here, like an indigenous reserve, like a native reserve. I don't know if there's still reserves down there. I'm not sure, but he was Native American, part of the Crow Nation. He was said to be extremely intelligent. He was an ex-Marine, and he was an expert outdoorsman, obviously as a Marine, but he was also, I guess, trained in the ways of the indigenous people, right? So hunting and gathering and all this stuff. He used to hunt with a bow and arrow, so it was very old school, taught by his grandpa kind of thing, taught by his dad. He was 48 years old, and he went hunting with his sons to the Black Canyon, which is on the Crow Nation land, which is inside the park, like I said. They didn't have the age of one of his sons. One of his sons was name was Brent, and they didn't specify his age. The other one was named Colton, and he was 13. They all separated it's a tactic to hunt. So the dad went in, and then the sons kind of went around, and what they do is they kind of flush the deer or the elk or whoever or whatever, I guess not whoever, the people, they're people hunting, and they flush them towards their dad, so that their dad has a clear shot at several animals if he misses one, right? So it's very clever. So yeah, they were hunting for elk, though, just to specify. And so the dad went down into, Robert, I should say, went down into a canyon, and the sons were going to flush the animals down towards their father. And yeah, from there, both the boys eventually returned to their original campsite, and Robert didn't. So the boys get concerned, and occasionally they'll honk the horn of their truck, 5, 6 times, and kind of scream, "Hey, Dad, we're over here," right? Kind of just in case he got lost, which doesn't make sense because this is land that he's hunted for his whole life.
Mm-hmm.
So when they couldn't find him, when he didn't show up, they contacted the Bighorn County Sheriff, as well as the members of the Crow Nation. Sounds like a wrestling crew, or you know what I mean, or a biker gang in Crow Nation. But so the interesting thing was the whole nation came out to look for him. All of the sheriff department came out. They brought helicopters with infrared. They brought dogs, and they brought trackers on horseback as well as on foot. And they searched for weeks and weeks and weeks. We're talking 6 to 8 weeks, something like that. And they found nothing. Zero. No broken bones laying around, no heads, nothing. No broken trees, nothing. However, in October in 2005, so that's 1 year later, a random hunter heard a scream, and he said that he's quoted as saying that it sounded like a female scream. And so he starts looking around, and he finally realizes that it's a crow. And he had said that it's not a noise that he's ever heard a crow make before, which I thought was kind of interesting. He said it sounded like a screaming woman. So finally he sets eyes on this crow, and this crow is on top of a tree stump. And then he screams like a woman again, I guess. And then he starts kind of chirping away as a regular crow would. And then the guy says that the crow looks down, which kind of forced the guy to kind of like look down because he wasn't staring at the bird anymore. And then he noticed Robert, or the remains of Robert. So Robert was not crushed, but he was under a huge snapped tree. It was snapped in half. And the only things that were there of his were a few bones, and this is a quote: a few bones, a pair of boots, a partial skull, a rolled up belt, a folded jacket, and his wallet containing ID cards, social security, and it was full of cash. So it gets weirder. Turns out that these bones and this clothing and everything was DNA confirmed to be Robert. It was 50 yards away from where him and his sons had camped, where the truck was, where they were honking. So I find that very, very interesting, because that area had been searched hundreds of times, because they needed to pass that area to be able to go into the canyon to look for Robert. So people had walked past there hundreds upon hundreds of times. So that's what I thought was super crazy. But here's where it gets crazier. So as I said earlier, the FBI get involved because it's federal land-ish. It's a federal park, but it's native land. So the FBI blames his death on the falling tree, which astounds me, because last I heard, when somebody gets crushed by a tree, their clothes don't magically fold themselves, their belt doesn't roll itself up, which I thought was kind of interesting. So they would not release the body back to the family, back to Robert's family. So Robert's family had to sue the FBI to get his body back. And when it was released to them, the death certificate, which was released on November 16th, 2007, which is 2 years and a month after he was found. That's pretty bizarre, right? That it takes that long to get your... Yeah, anyways. The cause of death was undetermined. So there was no crushing damage at all found on these bones or anything. So, yeah, undetermined. So what I find really, really bizarre. So, but that's all the info they had on that one. I just thought it was kind of interesting, because it's one of those cases where people have walked over that portion 100 million times. It's like, if I'm walking down the sidewalk every day, 16 times a day, and then all of a sudden there's a body there, you're like, when did that get there? It had to be within the last whatever, this time and this time, right? So yeah.
Wow.
I'd be curious. I mean, like, this is weird for me to say, but this is one of those situations where it's like, I'd be curious to see the photos of, like, how it was found.
To be honest, I haven't looked to see if there's pictures, but this is new enough that there should be pictures. I just don't know if they're released. However,
I mean, we
I
can find pictures of the Kennedy assassination in Dallas. We can probably find this.
in theory, there could be a FOIA request put out to the FBI for this. Be kind of curious. Maybe I should try. So FOIA is, for those who don't know, is Freedom of Information Act, and after a certain amount of time, you can put paperwork into any government, whatever group, and they will release. They have to release everything. Now, very often, they release the paperwork and it's all redacted, like black lines covering all the words. But every once in a while, you get some gems. So yeah, it doesn't go on to explain which bones were found. It just says the partial skull, which I thought was kind of cool, or not cool, interesting, because a partial skull to me, I guess partial would mean also missing the jawbone, I suppose, but partial would mean that like it's a portion of the actual upper
Cranium
portion
is
of the head,
missing.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it crushed and then a portion missing, or was it cut and a portion missing, or lots of details that weren't specifically. But then again, I got this out of the book, so I mean, it's possible if I go online and I deep dive, I might be able to find something.
Yeah, the partial skull was also kind of a trigger to me, and I thought the same thing. Like, would that be able to prove
Yeah.
the crushing, or is it maybe disproving
Yeah.
the
And the
crushing?
thing is,
Which is
though,
probably why the bones were kept.
Right.
the thing is, though, even if he was crushed, how does his jacket and his belt, how does it get all folded up and stuff? You know?
I mean, past life regeneration. It was a maid in her past life, and she still wanted to keep things tidy when she unalived this guy in the forest.
It's very, very interesting because they've never found anything else of his, like no
Wow.
bones anywhere else. So, and there's no crime scene, you know what I mean? Like where, like there was no blood found or anything like that. So,
Well, according to them, it was the tree, so it'd be somewhere under the tree.
right. I should also add, obviously, I don't know if you guys picked up on this. Those dogs couldn't get a scent on him, so they smelled the stuff, but they wouldn't track.
Right.
Which is very bizarre, but very typical for missing 411 stories. They smell.
Yeah, that was another thing that kind of like, again, back to the crushing. I mean, I am no like science magician. I am not smart with science. But like to me, when there's something squishy under a hammer and it comes down on it, there's going to be a bit of a cursplosion, if you will.
Yeah,
This guy would have decorated a few feet of the forest. If the dogs couldn't smell that.
So here's the thing: is the dogs did smell. They had the scent on his jacket or of his clothing, I should say, because they had stuff that belonged to him.
Mm-hmm.
They refused to hunt.
Oh.
It's very different than just not getting the smell. They got the smell, they got the track, but they would not do it. Which is
because they knew he was 50 yards that away.
Stop being so fucking lazy and just do it.
Just take a walk, my guy.
It's very typical of missing 411 though. These stories where the dogs will get a scent and they'll track for a little bit and then they'll just stop. They'll be like, listen, I know what's there.
We tried.
I know it's there. I'm not doing this. That kind of thing, right? It's not like they lost the scent. They still have it. They just refuse to go any further, which I think very, very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But then on top of this, also we got to remember where this gentleman was hunting. This is going to be First Nation land. So like now we're going to. Did the dogs refuse to hunt because they knew that the slicer dicer thingamajiggy that they believe in that we don't want to say the name of was in there waiting for them.
The Walker, the skinny Walker Texas Ranger.
Yeah, that thing. Did they know it was in there and they didn't want to go after it? I mean, I know I wouldn't.
That didn't even cross my mind. I'm glad you brought that up. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And like they are known for just, again, the same thing, geckoing their way down a freaking tree and yeeting somebody out of existence.
Right.
Creepy.
This is not helping the fact that I'm going to be moving closer to a national park in the next year.
Insert the X-Files theme here.
Melball will be a freaking episode on the X-Files if she keeps going hiking on her own.
I'm looking for you. It's not that far. 3 hours south of me. It's fine. I can't say I'm gonna find you though, but
Right.
I mean, at that
Right.
point, Jesus, take the wheel.
Yeah, pretty much.
The
Pretty much.
a very large place for one man to hunt.
Yeah, little spacious, little substantial, that one. Did you guys have anything else
I
that we
don't
wanted
have
to add to Alex's story here?
No, I don't have anything. You guys have any questions?
I mean, I don't have any questions, but I think the one little thing that I could maybe add is if you go down in the woods tonight, you better go in disguise. And the best way for you to do that is with your very own ParaMindful shirt that you can get from carlcarafel.redbubble.com. Yes, there is some all things spooky ooky-ish ParaMindful merch available there for you. Always go out in style, and that has got to be probably the best way that somebody can go in style.
That was the best segue I think I have ever seen. I wasn't expecting that at all. Nice.
That's why we pay the gold standard there, the high gold standard.
That's why he's called the gold standard.
Yes, that's why we bring him around. At Carl. And speaking of Carl, what do you have going on this week and where can the people find you on social media?
As always, I have got my Monday night show that I do now. We do a Monday Night Raw watch along on the OLE network as well as the Turnbuckle Studios network. Tuesdays at 8:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we go live with Turnbuckle Talk with myself and my new co-host, Chris Best, who has been absolutely killing it as of late. Even able to step in when I couldn't be there and handle the shows himself. It was absolutely fantastic. But right here is where you can find my link tree. And you will be able to go and find all things Turnbuckle Studios and all things Carl Carafel right there.
Except his OnlyFans. His OnlyFans is OnlyFans/Carl Carafel .com/CA.
Beep.
/ gold standard.
Yes. Otherwise known as OnlyFans/gold standard.
And if you can clean up all that audio, good on you. There's your task.
I have skills.
And Alex, now that you're taking a sip of your Slurpee there, where can the people find you during the weekend on social media?
Well, social media. Mel gets mad at me all the time. I have Instagram. I don't use it. Who's got the time? YouTube, though, I got YouTube Werewolf at the Movies, and I have Weichi Cannon, both of which are kind of in limbo at the moment. There's stuff coming eventually. I haven't found the time. I've been working way too much. So, but other than that, if you did want to see me on Instagram, I think it's Werewolf on a Bike. So
I'm pretty sure that's what likes my stuff every once in a while.
Every once in a while, maybe I'll post something. Maybe I should have posted stuff yesterday from that awesome concert, but
right.
I got pictures, so maybe. That's
I mean, extended content. There you go. Throwback Thursday.
I'll tag Devin Townsend. Maybe he'll bring me along to his next concert as like
security, he might.
Security or something.
He might. I'm getting a lot of wrestlers' attention. because Melball is always on Andre and Melball's Wrestling Talk.
Yeah,
And
but
especially this week, because we're getting balls deep in the G1 right now. My goodness. This has been an incredible tournament. But man, let me tell you, these shows are 3 hours long. Holy hot dang. Anyway, I have to complain about that, but I love it. You
I
can
don't
follow
suppose
a
you used a
Melball.
link tree. Did you get a link
What's that,
tree?
Alex?
Did you get a link tree yet?
No.
Oh,
I didn't
That's
get
why
a
I moved
link
over
tree.
to give you enough room
Yeah,
so
give
that
me
it's
room
not
for my
covering me.
list. You can follow a Melball on Twitter at Collins Melball, or you can follow her on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Mastodon, and Blue Sky now at Melball Collins. You can find her on the Facebook, Andre Melball's Wrestling Talk Facebook fan page, and you can also find her on Astro Pizarro's YouTube show, Ladies Wrestling Showcase. She's been getting so many opportunities, though. We have not been able to film any episodes. We are behind, but I cannot complain because that girl is a superstar of our local establishment. So we got to let her take those opportunities and absolutely kill it. So we have. Love you, Astrid. Astrid pose, Alex.
is this what it is?
Yeah. Yay. Anyway, does anybody else have anything to say to the beautiful people before we peace out on this episode?
Okay,
Oh.
bye.
I got a quick question. Sometimes when we're not all able to get together and make movies, we make those EVPs.
Yes.
I'm kind of curious as to what people think of the EVPs.
Oh, yes. Let us know in the comments down below what we think about the EVPs if we want more of them.
Yeah,
These
'cause
boys, they got the voices for it.
they're
Litchfield
gonna
does
come
not have the
eventually.
technical training for it.
They're gonna come anyways. But I'm just kind of curious as if the format works or what. So
Absolutely. So let us know in the comments down below what you guys think of our EVP series. And that being said, I am Melball Collins. Down there is the gold standard who I'm sprinkling with pixie dust, Carl Carofel. And over there is Alex the werewolf. We will catch you next time. Keep it spooky.